Education. A compulsory and formalised education system only began to emerge in Australia from the mid-19th century onwards. The first phase is the emergence of the modern system based on liberal humanist ideas. From 1860s, state governments have become increasingly involved in organising education rather than depending on the church, arguing that according to liberal humanism, education should be focused on shaping one's general attitudes and beliefs, focusing on the intrinsic values rather than external influences. Expansion from World War II to the late 70s also played a major role in educational reform as responsibility shifted from state governments to the federal. This change reflected the idea that education could play a greater role in social democracy by increasing participation for higher education, particularly through the abolition of university tuition fees by the Whitlam government. Finally, where liberal humanism focuses on is the intrinsic value of education, and this final phase focuses on the growing marketisation of education since the 1980s, expressing the value of education in economic terms. Governments have encouraged the development of market-like mechanisms within the education system in order to promote greater competition between educational institutes. Social difference in education falls under three main spheres of influence: class, ethnicity and culture, and gender, with all of these intrinsically linked to our perception and relationship with the education system. In terms of class, it has been noted that high social classes receive more education through their aspects to a wider range of opportunities for learning. They are seen to be treated with more respect and have more emotional labour put into their education. A sense of maintaining status within the community can also be seen, such as maintaining an association with the school you attended as a child by sending your children to the same school. There are consistent correlations between education levels and social class, with children born into high social classes receiving a higher quality education and being more likely to pursue further studies such as university. Children from high socioeconomic statuses are 3 times more likely to attend higher education. There have been changes to this though, with in absolute terms a greater increase in education of working class children. Previously, boys were given greater opportunities and preference in regards to education. However, there has been a gender revolution since the 1990s. Girls have high attendance rates in schools and universities. Girls are also outperforming the average boy in subjects such as science and maths. Gender is the third important sphere of influence in the education system. Institutionalized sexism and cultural expectations of gender are learnt in educational environments. Although women may appear to be given equal opportunities to excel in the classroom, ideas about gender differences and expectations are reinforced in classroom dynamics through outside influence. An example of this is if you're a girl, you've probably been recommended to study nursing at some point, and if you're a boy, you've probably been recommended to study engineering at some point. These are expressions as to how gender is intrinsically linked with our understanding of education. Ethnicity and culture is another influential aspect of education. Lower success rates have been recorded among culturally diverse schools. Some of the reasoning behind this may be due to institutionalised racism, unwillingness to embrace or understand cultural differences in Australian school systems, and how they impact the learning environment. Cultural insensitivity within the education system causes frustration for all parties involved. So, education. Studying education from a sociological perspective is an important and essential facet to understanding how our environment is constructed. Education serves as a melting point for social class, ethnicity and culture, and gender, 3 key components that build up our society. By studying how these 3 things play with one another in the sphere of education, we are able to come to a greater understanding as how our society is constructed itself.